You don't win a World Cup simply by, gathering the 26 best football players in a country.
No, you really don't.
Right. You win it with the 26 players who can figure out how to play together the fastest. Welcome to the Deep Dive, where your mission and ours is to dissect the official Germany roster for the FIFA World Cup 26, which just dropped on May 21st.
Yeah, it's finally here.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Julian Nagelsmann has essentially made a massive gamble on domestic chemistry versus, well, international star power.
He really has. And, I mean, that tension is immediately obvious when you look at the foundation of this squad.
Right, you always have to start at the back, right, with the guys keeping the ball out of the net.
Exactly. So if we assume Manuel Neuer from Bayern Munich is the undisputed anchor in goal, backed up by Oliver Baumann at Hoffenheim and Alexander Nübel at Stuttgart, the defensive line in front of them is where the grand tactical experiment really begins.
Yeah, honestly, putting Antonio Rüdiger next to Nico Schlotterbeck feels like a massive miscommunication waiting to happen.
Oh, you think so?
I do. To me, this defense is like a fortified wall built from completely different types of stone.
Okay.
You've got Rüdiger acting as the heavy, aggressive boulder, bringing that high-stakes Real Madrid pedigree, but he needs the highly engineered mortar of domestic defenders like Schlotterbeck and Waldemar Anton from Borussia Dortmund just to keep the structure from collapsing.
Right, the tactical contrast is huge there.
Yeah. Add in Malik Thiaw from Newcastle, David Raum from RB Leipzig, Nathaniel Brown from Eintracht Frankfurt, and Jonathan Tah out of Bayern Munich. With these players defending in completely different club systems across Europe, how difficult is it to forge a unified backline?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it's a calculated compromise. Like a center back from La Liga or the Premier League relies heavily on individual duels, right? And very aggressive stepping.
Right, breaking the line to challenge for the ball.
Exactly. But the modern Bundesliga setup, which players like Tah and Anton are deeply steeped in, relies on zonal control and strict spacing.
Yeah.
So they have to communicate instantly to avoid leaving massive gaps when someone steps out of line to press.
Wow. Okay, so that defensive solidity gives them a high floor, but to actually win the tournament, you need a midfield that can transition the ball forward instantly. We're moving right into the engine room.
The most crucial part of the pitch, honestly.
Yeah, and here's where it gets really interesting. You look at the midfield, and it's basically a masterclass in copy-pasting club chemistry.
Oh, totally.
I mean, we are seeing a heavy lean on Bayern Munich's Joshua Kimmich, Alexander Pavlovich, and Leon Goretzka. And they're paired alongside Stuttgart's Angelo Stiller and Jamie Lewing, plus Felix Mecca from Dortmund.
Yeah, the domestic clustering is very intentional.
Right. And then you sprinkle in Premier League talent like Pascal Gross from Brighton and Florian Wirtz from Liverpool. So is this clustering a deliberate attempt to copy-paste existing club chemistry directly onto the national stage?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, international managers operate on drastically reduced training schedules compared to club managers. They barely get any time.
Right, like a couple of weeks at most.
Yeah. Exactly. So by drafting these specific blocks of players, Nagelsmann is effectively buying pre-packaged midfield triangles. Stiller and Lewing already know exactly where the other is going to run without even looking.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and when you bring in Premier League visionaries like Gross and Wirtz, you're not asking them to build the engine from scratch, you're just asking them to drive it.
Right. But the engine's ultimate job is to feed the spearhead.
Oh.
And looking at the goal scorers leading the line, this is basically a Swiss Army knife, featuring tools from all across the continent.
It's a very diverse group up top.
Yeah, we've got domestic talent like Maximilian Boyer from Dortmund, Leonard Karl and Jamal Musiala from Bayern, and Dennis Undav from Stuttgart.
Strong domestic core, yeah.
But then you look outward at Kai Havertz flying in from Arsenal, Leroy Sané from Galatasaray, and Nick Wolpmade from Newcastle. So what does this all mean? With strikers flying in from Arsenal, Galatasaray, and Newcastle, is it a risk to rely on forwards who don't play together week in and week out?
This raises an important question about the trade-off between chemistry and sheer unpredictability. Yes, Havertz's instinct to drop deep and link play could mechanically clash with Sané wanting the ball at his feet on the wing.
Right, or Wolpmade just occupying physical space in the box.
Exactly. The mechanism of their attacks might look really disjointed at first, but the flip side is that it makes this forward line incredibly difficult to scout.
Because there's so many different styles.
Exactly. If a defense prepares for a structured Bayern-heavy attack led by Musiala and Karl, well, throwing on Wolpmade's Premier League physicality completely breaks the opponent's defensive mapping.
Wow, okay. Well, You now know the entire German World Cup 26 squad inside and out, perfectly prepping you for the summer tournament.
It's going to be a fascinating run to watch.
It really is. But before we wrap up, I want you to consider the psychological dynamic of these 26 players. For 10 months of the year, players like Kimmich, Schlotterbeck, and Undav battle against each other relentlessly in their club seasons.
Oh, yeah, they are fierce rivals putting in hard tackles all year long.
Exactly. And then they suddenly have to flip a switch, share a locker room, and unite for a single trophy.
Yeah.
Imagine the ego check required to put the crest on the front above everything else. Definitely something to mull over before kickoff.